So, Bills. I was thinking of this, and apologies up front for this not being more original. The receiver thing that we obsess about all the time, what we haven't really, mostly at least, dug our collective teeth into yet is whether we think it's going to change. And we've certainly gone round and round on that before and used different bases of evidence for like why it will or why they meant to change it or why they didn't. That's Amari Cooper. That's all kinds of different examples. But no more Sean McDermott. Does that matter? Joe Brady still here. Whatever else you would want to put into the soup here on this one. What they can do in free agency, what they can do in the draft, what they can do in a trade. What do you think about where this is headed? Yesterday we talked to Sal, and Sal, the first name maybe he mentioned as a cut candidate is Curtis Samuel. Okay, well, not looking at the salary cap ramifications of that, I'll defer to Sal. Sure. Not like he really did anything for them anyway in 2 years. So, okay, I get it. Shakir, yes. Coleman, probably. Then what?
Palmer's under contract.
Palmer.
And
forgetting the name Joshua Palmer.
I know. He's a little like this was Samuel for me last year, his first year here with the Bills. I would regularly forget that he was on the injured list or something. Like, oh yeah, well he could come back. And then it turned out he came back and made a big play in the Denver playoff game. But anyway, Palmer, I think those three guys, assuming, the way Joe Brady, you got to be careful this time of the year, what people say, coaches, managers, about guys who, are under team control, that they're maybe trying to just hold on to some value for if they do want to move them. But Brady really went hard at how he feels about Coleman, I thought. Like, above and beyond the normal, we expect him to be here and compete for a spot, and he's still a young player, development, whatever. He went on and said, me being his coach is going to be the best thing that ever happened to him.
Does he do any of that? We don't know. Does he do any or all of that without what happened at the previous press conference? Where Pagula basically says,
good question.
We wish we didn't pick him. He might as well have said that.
Basically, right. Good question. I don't know. I think if Coleman had just had, without catching the strays that he did at the Pagula Bean news conference, you'd still be wondering about his future because of the fact that he was benched like he was, and are they just going to try to recoup a day 3 pick and move on and replace him? So I'm sure it would have come up, but I don't know. Would he have gone as hard as he went? But the point is, he did go that hard. He went above and beyond, to my ears anyway, in my experience, what a coach normally will say about a guy that they're not sure about. Like, to me, he sounds, it would be, you can always do whatever you want and just say, like, we got an offer or whatever, right? So they're not, like, boxed in, but he was strong in advocating for Coleman being a part of it. So I think I'm going to want to count him among their receiving corps.
I would.
So that's only 3 guys, though, right? I don't know what they'll want to do, if anything, with Brandon Cooks. Gabe Davis and Shavers both tore ACLs in the wild card game. So there, just like there is with Mahomes only a month later, there's going to be question about, are they going to be ready by the time the season rolls around? So counting on them, 2 of them at that, seems like maybe not something you'd want to do.
And I think Shavers might be a restricted free agent. Cooks is unrestricted.
Right.
So Cooks can play the field if he wants.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well he'll do.
I believe Davis is too. He's in green here. Shavers, I don't have a designation on the page I'm looking at here, but I'm not.
He's not a UFA.
I'm not sure. Okay. But still, to me, you've got, if you're counting Coleman, you've got 3 guys. I'm assuming Palmer, because it's an injury-riddled year, and, we are in need. So I could see them running that back and hoping they get better injury luck. But even if he is healthy, you're still going to need to get someone over top of him, I think.
Palmer, so to speak.
Yeah.
Palmer is one for me where my inclination would be more personal. Like, this was the player, I'm Brandon Beane now. This was the player I held up as, you guys can't get away with criticizing the receiver room anymore. He literally used Palmer in his interview with Tyler Dunn as that. How can you say that now? Okay, well, I think I was probably the majority who went, who is Joshua Palmer? But all right, let's see what happens. And what happened was like almost nothing, which I don't think was surprising.
Right.
So I would want to, especially if I have some sort of cap penalty for not doing this, I would want to run that back and see if I can't save face on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I have room for him.
I definitely have room for him, yes. But I don't want to rule anything out. And that means trade for a whale, right? Trade for a $30 million.
A.J. Brown.
Right. Because I think it's important. I mean, well, it's not very important. For me, a part of my thought process that matters, it's important to me, is that I think Beane is very much not entirely really because of what happened last spring about it, where he was so defiant. I think there's rabbit ears there. And I think he knows he's on the spot for doing something more substantive at receiver. The fact that he tried and failed during the season to pull in someone who would be, I mean, Jalen Waddle is not A.J. Brown, but like contractually, that's the same thing. You're talking about someone making $25 to $30 million a year under contract, young still, young enough anyway that you could, it might be like a Diggs trade. I think that should be on the table, just because I think Beane will want to look as though he's putting it to bed. Like he recognizes, look, I missed last year, and I have to make it up to you. So, not to us, but like to the team, to Josh Allen. So I think going big there could be absolutely called for, and I wouldn't rule it out. They could also just throw numbers at it, like they have in the past, like just grab a bunch of guys and hope one of them, Chase Claypool, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, that somebody is sticky. Some version, I'm not saying those guys in particular, but the 2026 version of those guys on the market. Maybe they do both of those things and draft somebody. Like I think they need two receivers that are ready to like displace Coleman and Palmer. I think they need two starting level receivers. So you got to go find that somewhere. Like you can't, to me, off of last year because of injury and production and because of maturity and production, say I got to overhaul my receiver room and end up counting on Palmer and Coleman.
Well, I don't think they're going to want to displace those guys necessarily. I think they're going to want to salvage them. And then what? If I'm right about that, I'm bringing in more lesser known, and right. That might be necessary. The trade that I would need to make, I don't really want to make. The investment in free agency, I really don't want to make that investment, even draft capital. So then I think and I have the same offensive coach. And we did really well. So I think, you wonder to what degree Beane is distracted by how he's perceived here and what he said and everything that has sort of been, water under the bridge maybe with this. It really shouldn't mean anything. He might still believe in Palmer, who had an injury or two. He might want to see what that is. Yeah. And he knows it, or he should know, in Brady, they should have this, be able to, that was one of the selling points we were told.
Yeah.
Is how they communicate with each other and what is the word? Alignment.
Alignment is the word, yes. Well, I'd be very surprised if they didn't displace Palmer and Coleman with guys over the top of them.
But just make them backups.
Right, but it could happen, like you're saying. Maybe we'll get more. Well, I tried. I tried to trade for A.J. Brown. I tried whatever. I just think that's gotten old. I think it was misguided in the first place, and nobody's going to want to hear it. So I think he'll be I think he will die trying to do something substantial to displace at least one of those guys. Because if you go into a year and the top of your depth chart, whatever's behind them, but the top of your depth chart is Palmer, Coleman, and Shakir, what are you doing?
Well, okay. But then he's got a very expensive backup in Palmer. I wonder, that might be the best question of the whole thing. Not even Coleman, but Palmer.
Yeah.
Is whether or not the Bills see him as unlucky last year and want to try to incorporate him more. Like when they signed him, what did I say? I mean, I know who he was, but I kind of said, it happened live. We were on the air. I'm like, who? It seemed like a ton of money for a guy that had almost never produced anything. And he had one season out of necessity because the Chargers had their own injuries where he did stuff. But that was it. And last year did not change that at all.
No.
803-0550 if you want to join us.